It wouldn't be a story about Kathie Lee Gifford and Hoda Kotb without laughter, a little mischief, and at least one unforgettable moment of chaos. And according to Gifford, one of their most hilarious behind-the-scenes memories from their years together on Today ended with them being kicked off the show's iconic outdoor plaza for being too loud. Yes, really. During a recent appearance, Gifford fondly looked back on her decade co-hosting the fourth hour of Today, alongside KTBA, a run that became legendary for its freewheeling energy, on-air wine drinking, unscripted banter, and unmistakable chemistry. But as it turns out, their high spirits sometimes spilled beyond the studio walls. And apparently, the plaza had its limits. "We were making too much noise." Gifford revealed that she and Kotb were once asked to leave the famous outdoor plaza area because they were, in her words, making too much noise. The moment, she said, was both embarrassing and hilarious and perfectly captured the joyful, chaotic vibe that made their partnership so beloved. The Plaza, a bustling New York City landmark outside NBC's studios in Rockefeller Center, is typically filled with cheering fans, signs, music, and live segments. But even by those standards, Gifford and Kotb apparently pushed the volume a little too far. "They told us we had to move," Gifford recalled with a laugh. "We were just being ourselves." And being themselves meant big laughs, animated storytelling, spontaneous singing, and the kind of giddy energy that turned their fourth hour into appointment television. A duo that changed morning TV. When Gifford joined the fourth hour of Today in 2008, she brought decades of experience and a larger-than-life personality. HEBC, who had been a correspondent and anchor for NBC News, matched her energy in a way few could have predicted. Together, they created something unique, a space in daytime television that felt like two best friends chatting over coffee, or, famously, wine. Their on-air tradition of sipping wine during the 10 a.m. hour became a cultural touchstone. It was playful, slightly rebellious for morning TV, and utterly authentic to who they were. Viewers loved it. They laughed loudly. They interrupted each other. They shared deeply personal stories. And yes, they occasionally got a little rowdy, so the idea that they were once told to quiet down or leave entirely feels almost poetic. The Plaza moment that says it all. The Today Plaza has hosted everything from celebrity interviews to concert performances. Fans gather daily, waving signs and hoping for a moment on camera. It's a controlled chaos but still controlled. Gifford explained that on this particular occasion, she and Kotb were in the plaza area engaging with the crowd, likely doing what they did best, entertaining. Without a filter, but their exuberance apparently tipped the scales. Production or staff members reportedly told them they were being too loud and needed to relocate. Rather than take offense, Gifford saw the humor in it. "That's just who we are," she essentially shrugged, and honestly, it tracks. The magic of unfiltered friendship. What made Gifford and Kotb's partnership so special wasn't just the jokes or the wine, it was the authenticity. Their friendship felt real because it was real. They weren't pretending to be polished news anchors during that fourth hour. They weren't stiff or overly scripted. They were warm, emotional, spontaneous, and sometimes a little chaotic. That authenticity resonated deeply with audiences. Women in particular saw themselves in the duo, laughing too loud, crying openly, talking about heartbreak and joy in the same breath. So if they got kicked off the plaza for being noisy, that's practically a badge of honor. From studio shenanigans to lasting legacy, Gifford left Today in 2019 after 11 years on the show, marking the end of an era. Her emotional farewell episode included surprise appearances, tearful tributes, and, of course, plenty of laughter. Hob has since continued her own impressive journey within NBC, stepping into bigger roles and further cementing her place as a beloved morning show staple. But fans still look back at the Gifford-Kotb era with special affection. Their chemistry was lightning in a bottle, the kind of partnership that can't be manufactured. Moments like the Plaza incident only add to the mythology. Why this story feels so perfect. There's something incredibly fitting about two women known for their volume, joy, and big personalities being told they were too loud. It speaks to the spirit they brought to daytime television, a refusal to shrink themselves. They didn't whisper their way through conversations. They didn't dim their laughter to fit expectations. They filled the room. And sometimes, apparently, they filled the plaza to fans' react. That's why we loved you. When stories like this resurface, fans are quick to respond with nostalgia and affection. Social media often lights up with comments like, "That's why we loved you." The best era of morning TV. Too loud. Impossible. Viewers remember tuning in not just for headlines, but for the unpredictable energy. One minute they'd be discussing serious topics, the next they'd be in hysterics over something completely absurd. It felt human, a reminder of their impact. Morning television can sometimes lean heavily into structure and formality, but Gifford and Kotb proved there was space for warmth, silliness, and genuine friendship. Their willingness to be loud, literally and figuratively, carved out a new kind of daytime format. It influenced how networks approached personality-driven hosting and demonstrated that viewers crave authenticity over perfection. Being kicked off the Plaza for making too much noise. That's practically symbolic of the way they disrupted the MOL. Where they stand. Gifford has continued focusing on writing, music, and film projects, embracing her creative passions beyond the morning show circuit. HEBC remains a central figure at NBC, admired for her resilience, kindness, and professionalism. Their friendship, however, has endured beyond the studio. They've publicly supported each other through life's highs and lows, from career milestones to personal heartbreaks, and when they reunite, the energy is still unmistakable. One can only imagine the volume level. The bigger message: don't dim your spark. A quiet lesson buried in this funny anecdote. In a world that often tells women, especially outspoken, joyful women, to tone it down, Gifford and Kotb built a career out of doing the opposite. They leaned into who they were. If that meant occasionally being too much, so be it. They turned that too much into ratings. Gold. Final thoughts. Image of Kathie Lee Gifford and Hoda Kotb being gently escorted off the Today Plaza for making too much noise is less a scandal and more a perfect snapshot of what made them iconic. They were loud, they were joyful, they were unapologetically themselves. And if that meant the Plaza couldn't quite contain them for a moment, well, that's just another chapter in a partnership that redefined what morning television could be. Because sometimes, the best television happens when you stop trying to be quiet and just let yourself laugh. And if that laugh echoes across Rockefeller Center, even better.